So this is the second of 3 parts of the DMZ America podcast for Friday, October 20th, 2023. I'm Ted Rall coming to you from the left.
I'm Scott Stantis coming to you from the right. And let me just sing you a little ditty, shall we? Hang down your head, Jim Jordan. Hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Jim Jordan. Poor boy, you're not going to be Speaker of the House. Thank you.
Bravo, bravo. So
can you?
That news broke while we were recording here. Jim Jordan, Republican of Ohio, hardline Republican, Trumpy, MAGA guy. He was never able to get the 217 votes that he needed to become Speaker of the House. He was never. I mean, look, he's now had. There were 3 votes held. Each time they voted, they got further and further away.
Yeah. Because he's a piece of shit. I mean, Ted, over the weekend, you and I were just talking over the period of time, the last 24, 36 hours, the Jordan forces have been, tell me this isn't persuasive politics, threatening the lives of Republicans who aren't voting for him and threatening the lives of the spouses of the representatives not voting for him. How do you not vote for a guy who's that warm and fuzzy?
Well, that is a way to get rid of government gridlock, isn't it? We
have ways of we
have ways of making you vote.
Jim Jordan was not going to be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it didn't even work. I mean, so Scott, look, I think we have to go to historical mode here, right? I mean, so the story is we are now without a Speaker of the House for the longest period of time in American history. I would say soon to be by far. There is no candidate who has stepped forward who seems capable of uniting the caucus. Steve Scalise wasn't able to do it. Jim Jordan wasn't able to do it. It doesn't seem like there's a flesh and blood breathing human being who can bring the Republican caucus together. There's too much of a schism between the MAGA side and the corporatists. And so I guess so I don't know where we go forward. There was a plan that was floated, I thought a pretty smart one.
Yeah, me too.
To give temporarily empower the Speaker pro tem, a guy named Patrick McHenry. That failed, died a dog's death. So they're not willing to let the Democrats, they're not willing to let Hakeem Jeffries be the Speaker, and understandably so, because it's the Republicans' House. But I have to admit, we're stumped here, right? Because the Constitution never provided for this kind of crisis. They didn't, in an age when you had to be a landed white old dude in order to have any political power, the old white landed gentry guys would get together over strong liquors and they would hash out problems and they would compromise. That's what they assumed would always happen. And it always has for a quarter of a millennia. Yeah. But now that apparently has come to so Republican intransigence and obstinacy and obstructionism previously directed at the Democrats and people like Obama, most notably, but Biden also, is now turning against themselves and their own conference. Scott, you're a student of history. I mean, am I right? We're in uncharted waters here.
Oh, this is totally uncharted because you always had the House, regardless of how thin the majority, the majority always held together. So you could, in the 1940s, I think the Republicans finally broke. I want to say it was 48 it was 48. No, or 46. Either way, they broke the Democratic hold on the House, and they were able to, and the Republicans took over and elected a Republican speaker. Democrats take over, they elected Democratic speaker. The speaker has always been traditionally sort of a wonk, Tip O'Neill is sort of, he had some personality. I mean, they're obviously politicians, so they have some personality, but they were also guys who behind the scenes could get things done. Nancy Pelosi never impressed me as a public figure. I thought she was awful, but she continually got elected as the leader of the Democrats in the House, which tells me that behind closed doors, she knew how to get her caucus in order. She knew how to count the votes and she knew how to get the votes. Mm-hmm. There's no one on the Republican side. They are so fractured now. still wouldn't be completely surprised if there was a compromise candidate. My guess is now, Ted, you just had a list you mentioned in the break here when we were talking. Give those three names that are up. It was
so we this is very
people. If anybody out there has heard of these guys, let us know.
Kevin Hearn of Oklahoma, Austin Scott of Georgia, Jody Arrington of Texas. He is the chair of the budget committee.
Okay, so that's a powerful position. I would also have thought that one of the whips would have stepped forward. That just makes sense. But this is,
what about bringing out an old speaker like Paul Ryan out of retirement just for like a year?
Oh, Ryan is hated by MAGA Nation, so you're not going to get those votes. But you could say, just because you cannot get anything done, and am I right? Oh God, please. We're back to saying it could be Donald Trump.
He's still around. Yeah.
Oh, you knew. Yeah. Could you imagine? They're not going to, nothing like that is going to happen. It's really cool to talk about for idiots on podcasts.
I mean, that's my role to always say like, oh, these weird things won't happen. Like I'm always like, no, Oprah's not going to be president. But like, but seriously, I don't know that there is a person, because the conference is so tight. I mean, if any Republican speaker candidate loses 5 votes, he or she cannot ascend to the speakership. And in this day and age, there's no way not to lose at least 5 votes.
Right. Well, yeah, rules are made to be broken and to be changed, and they certainly can do that. They were.
I'm talking about, but a simple majority. How are you going to change that?
No, I'm saying that, you mentioned the deal that was floated about letting Speaker Pro Tem McHenry stay in place until the beginning of 2024. That made all the sense in the world. Mm-hmm. Having Jim Jordan as the speaker would have been a catastrophe. I mean, the Democrats could have fundraised the hell out of that. Could you imagine your 2 highest profile Republicans in the country was Jim fucking Jordan and Donald fucking Trump? I mean, my God.
Well, most American voters don't know who Jim Jordan is, though, even though they've would
seen
be third
him
in line to the presidency.
Right. Third in line in the presidency. And to know him is to loathe him, apparently. He's just a prick. The fact that the guy never wears a suit coat. I mean, come on. I mean, that's just
he's positively formal compared to Fetterman.
Well, that's true. You've got a point there. But I mean, what's funny is during these votes, Jordan actually put on a jacket. I was kind of shocked to see that when he was sitting in the front row watching the vote and sneering and I guess threatening, like doing the cutthroat sign to people who voted against him. This historically, as in all things during the Trump era, this is unheard of. And this is untested waters. We've never uncharted. We've never been here before.
What do you think happens now?
I think of those 3 that you just mentioned. One of them will be the compromise Speaker of the House. There'll be a closed deal that says we're going to reopen the nominees, which they do anyway. But they can say, they can have a serious discussion about who will be the next speaker in 2025 when the new Congress is seated. And then take it from there. But it's going to be, I guarantee you, this is my prediction. Guaranteed. You've got the Scott Stantis, rock solid. Guaranteed.
All right, here we go. I'm on tenterhooks. Let's hear it.
It's just what I just said. It's going to be one of those 3 guys.
One of those 3 guys.
And it's somebody you have never heard of before.
Keep them over the weekend and knock their heads together. Yes. So they're staying in session.
Yes. And like I said, it's going to be one of those. It's going to be a congressman you've never, ever heard of. From someplace like Oklahoma or Guam or one of the territories. It's going to be someone like that.
It's so weird. Okay, well, we'll see.
And it's going to be temporary, but we were talking on a phone call the other day about Denny Hester. If people forget, he was supposed to be a temporary, like a placeholder speaker, and he turned out to be speaker for 6 years.
While he was the one who was diddling little boys, right?
There's that.
Well,
yes.
There's a lot of extra time when you're a lot of downtime when you're speaker of the House.
I actually shared a cab with him. I mean, a limo with him.
I was got you in the dirty place.
I'm not young enough.
It's just you, me, and all the listeners of the DMZ America.
Well, and in fact, Clarence Page joined us as well. So no funny business.
Victimized also.
I think you'd have to ask Clarence. Clarence actually sat in the back seat with him. Somehow I got stuck next to the driver, but
maybe Clarence is cuter.
He is. You've seen Clarence. He's darling.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorite people on the planet.
He's cool. So then
when the wheels come off on the DMZ America podcast,
well, the thing is, none of this may be an issue. The Democrats, for their many flaws, like the fact that they don't actually care about us, they do have a united conference, and it looks likely that the houses are going to flip in November, according to all the polls and analyses. Like, probably the House will become Democratic and the Senate will become Republican.
I don't know about the Senate. I don't know. I think Trump has been, if you've been listening and following him for the last month, have you, Ted? I mean, he's sounding even more bizarre. No. I mean, you were one of the few people who said there's method to his madness, and you were right. But now he really is saying stuff that you just go, huh?
I'm wondering if, first of all, he is old and fat, so it might just be dementia. And he's definitely, if you look at video interviews of him from, say, the 70s or 80s, let's just say the 80s or 90s, he was a different guy. He was definitely sharper back then. He's gotten stranger and stranger. But I mean, having been at the center of a legal controversy, I can't imagine the amount of pressure that Donald Trump is under right now with all these multiple indictments. Two people are flipped against him in the Georgia case.
Yeah, that's huge. Can you explain to me why he's sitting in on is it the court case in Manhattan or the one down in Florida?
It's the one.
Why is he showing up? I don't get that. He just sits there and glowers at the judge. I mean,
I don't know.
That's what I mean. He seems to be slipping, and that's why I mentioned it. That he is obviously going to be the nominee of the Republican Party in 2024. The Democrats are going to have, if they don't fuck it up, and God knows they can, but if they play it right, and frankly, they're playing the speakership thing just right. They're taking the Scott Stantis rule, number one. If you don't know what to do, wake up in the morning and eat a big bowl of shut the fuck up.
Right. When your enemy is beating himself up, sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, don't help. They don't need it. They don't need assistance. They're hitting themselves in the head with a hammer. So with Donald Trump as the nominee, and if he's slipping like I think he is, that's not to mention the slippage of the Democratic nominee, which in his slippage
in the next segment. Yeah.
Yes. So how this, like I said, by Sunday, probably, I'm going to guess, here's my prediction. Sunday midnight, they're going to have another vote, and it's going to be Jim Johansson, Republican of Nova Scotia. We didn't even know they had a congressman in our House of Representatives, but by
former
God, there he is.
For the Tuscaloosa Scalawags.
That's what's going to happen.
All right. Well, we shall see. You're probably right. I think, which is why I asked you. All right. So we'll take a little break. Well, for the listeners, they're not going to have any break. They don't get any break at all. Only we, as unionized members of the DMZ America, get a break. All right. So,
international podcasters.
Here we go. We'll be right
Local
back.
937.